First time here? Yeah. Oh, Dr. Francis is the best veterinarian in the business. You're gonna love him. He specializes in behavioral disorders.
Behavioral disorders?
Yeah.
But I don't have a behavioral disorder. I mean, I worry a little, sure, but it's a dangerous world. You'd be crazy not to worry.
Yeah, I'm fine too. It's my human that's nuts. I mean, you know, I bring her a dead bird, she throws it out. I bring her a dead mouse, right in the garbage. There's nothing I do good enough for you, mother!
Okay.
Hello, pups and kittens, and welcome to another fun-filled and informative episode of the Groomer Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Chris Green. Join us this week is our good friend and mentor, Dr. LAURIE COGER. You know, it's funny, a little bit of transparency behind the scenes of when we do this podcast together. We both have ideas of what we want to talk about. Put it down, you know, all this things, we'll go over this, we'll go over that. And I kid you not, we typically just go on our own merit of just talking. So that's what we're probably going to end up doing. I doubt that we have a script planned. We have no direction, and that is the best for us when we do things. Definitely not a Rodney Habib. I am not as structured as he is. I definitely am one of those, woo, shiny red ball. And by that sound, Dr. COGER is about to enter the podcast studio. So with that said, welcome Dr. COGER back to the podcast.
Oh, hello. Hold on a sec. Dad, we have a guest on the podcast.
Hello, pups and kittens. It's an all-new episode of the Groomer Next Door podcast, and joining me right now is Dr. LAURIE COGER. Thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been too long.
It has been. Now, you did do the radio, which we've now been able to finally put a myth behind us. Something that Dr. COGER has been saying for years now is that we can do this podcast in 30 minutes. Shall we jump into that topic of how it's just very hard to do a 30-minute show?
Yeah.
Explain to all.
Our first problem is we digress.
Well, that's my biggest problem. That's definitely my problem. Last week did a podcast, and horse farts became the digress for me, and I just lost control for a while. So, you know, it happens. But now, tell everybody what it's like, because honestly, I have no idea what it's like to do anybody's radio show. What was that experience like?
Oh, doing your radio show?
Yeah.
It was fun. I'm used to talking with you, you know, at length, and, you know, it's just us, and all of a sudden there's this other producer person, and he's telling me, you know, just sit here, you're on hold, you'll know when you go on, and I'm like, okay. I feel like I'm in this little room, and somebody's going to come and get me, and then I'm on, and we answer a few questions, and we talk for 5 minutes, and it's over. It literally felt like 5 minutes.
It does.
And we never talk for less than an hour.
Right. And so with the radio show, which, you know, I like to give behind the scenes to everything because a lot of people are, you know, they don't have the ability to do these different shows. We can just talk for hours and it doesn't matter, microphone or not. But what's funny is that we don't have a call screener. So you talk to the guy who runs the board, and Lee barely talks at all. And so
yes, I got that.
It was kind of interesting. I was just like, all right. So you kind of get, you know, always want to know what others think when they do the radio show, because again, I'm just there trying to do the best I can. And I could tell you were just like, oh, we're done already? It's like, I know, right? It is that fast. 30 minutes.
It's that fast.
It goes fast. So,
but I think of someone driving in their car who might be listening. You know, that 10 minutes or whatever it is might be all they've got. So at least we're getting to that.
Yeah, and
and they're getting a thought.
That's kind of the hope. I mean, you know, we start at 9:05, we end at 9:35 because, of course, I can never end on a 30-minute note. 25 minutes is just too short for me, so I always run late. And, of course, the digressing doesn't help. But,
Right.
30 minutes of a show to talk a lot about, what's going on with people's, furry friends, it's kind of difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So we're
especially for us.
For us, yes. Now, we're at a stage that I love to always talk about, which is we're still quite a few months away from Healthy Dog Expo. And I love to say that because every time I say it, you're like, well, it's not that far away. So kind of let us know.
It isn't.
Let everybody know what's going on with next year's Healthy Dog Expo.
Healthy Dog Expo, April 4th in Albany, New York. We're trying to finalize our sponsors and exhibitor vendors by the end of this month. And I'm really happy to say that this year, a CC Animal Health has come on board. Now, a CC makes a product called the Loop, which is a pulsed electromagnetic field device. So not a drug, more on the physical therapy side of the spectrum. That is amazing for pain relief, for arthritis, for dogs with degenerative myelopathy, because literally you lay this loop on top of the dog or on top of the affected area, and it runs through a 15-minute cycle, sending energy to the tissues. And it is phenomenal. I've used it on many patients, and my friend Deb Taraka, who you talked with just the other day, she uses it in her physical therapy practice all the time. So I was really excited when they called me up and said, hey, we'd really like to come. And they have a new product called the Calm Canine, or Canine Calm. I'm not 100% sure of the exact name. It's brand new. But it also is pulsed electromagnetic field, but it's anti-anxiety.
Really?
So instead of drugging those dogs that are stressed out about thunderstorms, we let them have the device.
So how does that work?
It is just amazing.
I
don't know. I'm going to find out. Like I said, it is brand new. They'll be demoing it at the expo. It's just been released to market, so I don't have all the details yet. But go to their website. I think it's ccanimalhealth.com, and they'll be putting stuff up momentarily, probably.
I've got to play with that.
But
well,
what you've got to look at it. And anybody who has an old arthritic dog, I mean, pulsed electromagnetic field therapy has been around for a long time, but their packaging and how easy it is to use and adaptable to a variety of sizes of dog, just amazing. Just amazing.
Well, electrotherapy has always been, I've had muscular injuries over the years, and
sure.
you get the electrodes put on, and that is just the greatest feeling on this planet. That besides that, a massage, but other, it was always my favorite part. And I'm thinking, well, that does make sense. It's not invasive at all. And again, like you said,
right.
Avoiding all the chemicals that we're putting in our dogs. So that makes sense.
Not drug. And, physical therapists have been ahead of us for so long in using energy medicine, whether it's a TENS unit, a laser, pulse electromagnetic field, shockwave. I mean, that field is pioneering non-drug treatment of the body, whether it's a human body or an animal body.
Interesting. I don't know if anybody can hear this. I'm in my little room right now, and my cat is on the outside of the wall. I don't know if everybody can hear her meowing. So if you can, it's just my cat going, "Why are you in there?" I want in.
Yeah.
So if you do pick that up, I'm hoping it's picking it up, but I don't know. So who else is going to be at Healthy Dog Expo besides me, of course?
Besides you, of course.
Yes.
Well, of course, my amazing panel. Dr. Kendra Pope, who you know well.
Yep.
Dr. Karen Becker and Rodney Bibb. Susan Thixton, the one and only. And world-renowned trainer, Susan Garrett. So, I mean, it's the all-star edition, really.
So,
Dr. Harvey will be there. He'll be out in the booth area from Dr. Harvey's Pet Food. As I said, a CC. Laura Nativo will be there with the new Nativo treats that will be out by then that I was part of. And by then, I'm hoping season 1 of her new show on Animal Planet will be airing.
They're
shooting this month.
You know,
Yeah.
we have yet to connect. I remember you set the intro up, and we never were able. She never came through. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to her.
Yeah. Well, I've never met anyone so busy, but I know right now. You know, she said the month of September into October, I'm filming 6 days a week.
Oh, gosh.
You will not hear from me. In fact, she was advertising for an assistant, basically to help her take care of her dogs. Because fortunately, she has 3 dogs who participate in the show somewhat. And she does have a trailer so she can take them to wherever they're shooting. But she needs a dog wrangler. It's like, hey, there's a job. Be on the TV set. Take care of dogs and help out wherever you can.
Wait, where do I apply? I mean, I only have a couple of jobs. I need that job. How do I apply for that? That sounds like.
Well, you gotta live in LA.
Darn.
You gotta live amongst the crazy people.
So wait a second. I did the reverse transplant. You know, where people normally move from the Midwest to Los Angeles. I decided to go LA to the Midwest, and now I'm going. Hey, there's so many different things I can be doing out there, and I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I could always move back. I mean, I really, honestly, I could go back any day. So,
sure.
That would be fine. So, now, I will say this, when it comes to Rodney and Dr. Becker, I will be in the corner very far away because, you know, they're intimidating and scary, and there's no way I'm going to be able to talk to either one of them without being a nerd. So, I'll pass. But I might be...
Everybody's a nerd when they talk to them.
I may hang out with Susan, but then again, Susan's going to be right next to them, so I'm going to have to avoid being around Susan as well. I don't know.
No, you know, we're all just people.
Yeah, but y'all are much better.
They're doing more.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, and Rodney and I have talked about this. The only way he gets things done is he does not allow himself to be distracted. And that's the simple reason why he's accomplished as much as he has. And he's no different than any of us. You know, he doesn't have any special magic skills other than his creativity. And dangerousness when it comes to using props. But, oh gosh, and the man can make a mess like nobody's business. But, you know, he is just a hardworking, dedicated person. And that's who he tell you he is. And he loves his dog.
So
that's it.
He doesn't get distracted
all the time.
But he doesn't get distracted. So that's one reason why I will never be Rodney. I can distract so easy.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's just I'm doing the radio stuff. I mean, I thought I was getting close, but now I find this out. It's all in vain now for me. Well,
no, being focused is key. I don't know how that goes with the creative persona that can come up with the ideas that he comes up with, though. Because I always think of the organized, focused people I've known were not naturally creative. See how we've digressed? You know, they were focused. I had a dear friend who was an architect. And, I mean, he had his lists, he had his calendar, he had his spreadsheets, everything was broken down, and he accomplished more in a day than I could accomplish in a week. But, you know, to say he was creative, no, he was an artist in the buildings and such that he designed, and the way he looked at things, and his eyes saw symmetry and balance and such. But he didn't have that other creative side that people like Rodney and other artists do.
Well, see, the creative side I can get to, but the laser point idea of being able to get it done without digressing, that is obviously out of my range, as we can already tell.
And mine as well.
Oh man!
Well, I can work a list if I have to.
But you know what I've noticed, and you can of course explain it better because you've known her, and I've only seen her on TV or on Facebook, and that is with Dr. Becker. She seems to digress every so often as well. At least
she does.
Okay, so at least I could feel good about that.
I don't know. She also, everything is, she can talk extremely quickly. And she too stays on task. But I think she she turns it on and off differently. She's an amazing person and one of the kindest people you will ever meet. And I can't wait for people to come to the event and, you know, be in my house, if you will, with these wonderful people who have become friends, who have so much to share.
Well, I will honestly, I'm going to go out, and it's barely September, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm probably some way, somehow going to be involved in some kind of weird stunt with Rodney, because apparently that is how everything works with me. So I hate to say it, but I'm going to go out and say him and I will probably do something ridiculous, because I tend to bring that out in people, and, well, Rodney already has that in him, so we're just going to see where that goes.
Yeah.
And as I told you...
We'll see if he brings the drone.
Oh my gosh, that drone. Well, don't even start with the drone, because I don't even know what I would do. But there'll be something. I'll figure out some off-the-wall thing. Like I said, I'm not going to be really in the corner. I will be in the middle of everything. I like to believe that I'm shy and everything, but we all can pretty much tell that's probably a lie. But I will... I was talking to my daughter. I was telling you about this as well. I was like, I think I'm going to bring my daughter along. She loves the science. She loves all this stuff. And and she's kooky like I am. So we'll see just, you know, the kind of, you know, chaos that we'll bring to the whole thing.
Well, there's going to be so many people there.
Well, trust me.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. So what else do we have to look forward to?
At the expo?
Yes.
You know, I think I'm going to have a real assortment of exhibitors talking about some really unique things in the marketplace. Of course, I'll have a CBD person. I have one who I think is on the cutting edge of CBD, because as we were talking about earlier, everything has CBD in it now.
Yep.
The market has exploded, and some of these products are good, and some of them are really snake oil.
Yeah.
And how in the world do you know? You know, when you buy it at the health food store, when you buy it at the pet store, when you order it online, this one costs $150 a bottle, this one's only $30. What's the difference? And I think I have found an expert who can really explain that in terms that everyone can understand. And to put them out in a booth and say, you want to talk CBD? Here you go. And can give you the research, you know, in a digestible form.
And that's going to be the challenge.
So I'm working on putting that together. I have a couple other innovative companies that, you know, they won't necessarily be selling things there, but that, you know, you can go and you can learn about something that's totally new, maybe not even on the market yet, but that can benefit your dog's health. So that's where I'm going with this, because this year's event is going to be unique. Like I said, the All-Star Edition with regard to speakers, but I don't want to forget about the 20 to 30 people who are out there at tables. And I don't want it to be like a flea market where, okay, go buy your dog biscuits, go buy this new toy. Even though I'll have some of that. I want it to be interesting and educational as well. And, you know, be able to open people's minds to all sorts of different approaches.
You know, we weren't even talking about this before, and I'm surprised we didn't talk about this before we started. I was talking with Rob Covier of Animal Nutrition Products, and I don't know how much you know of their products, but I was surprised to find out they had a veterinarian who actually endorsed their CBD. That's the first I had heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was... Again,
I'm not familiar with their products at all.
Okay.
Or at least not by that name. You know, it's amazing how, like, you know the formula name or something.
Right. Yeah, it's just something that popped up. I was like, oh my gosh, I meant to talk to you about that, but I'm still wheeling from this wonderful migraine from yesterday. So I'm like, I'm here, but I'm not really here, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, exactly.
And this is just playing injured. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm playing injured, and I'm going to get through this.
Yep. You forge ahead. For sure.
We do.
So the other thing that's been going on besides the expo, and the expo is like I said, it's April. Seems like a long way off, but there's so many things, so many details to put together. You know, what's going in the gift bags? How are the name badges coming along? You know, do we have stuff for the raffle basket so that, you know, for a mere $1, somebody might walk out there with $250 worth of amazing stuff from our speakers and our exhibitors. So there's a lot to put together, plus the logistics of getting everyone who needs to be there, being sure they have a place to stay. It's a huge, huge project.
I would imagine so.
But it's also a lot of fun. So we're also, I'm also working on a project called Check Your Pet Food, which is a way that a pet food can be tested, both for very detailed nutritional analysis, for toxins, for bacteria, for DNA to verify that, you know, if it says lamb on the front, that lamb is in there, for drug residues. All sorts of things that we can test for that, you know, speak to the safety of the food and the integrity of the label. Meaning, like I said, if it's a lamb food, that it has lamb in it, that it doesn't have chicken. Because to many pet owners, you know, they need something that is specific, whether it's dog or cat. Or, you know, they want to feed something specific and they should not be lied to and be feeding something that isn't what they think. So this service is available to food manufacturers if they want independent testing. But also I'm working on a way to offer it to individuals. Let's say you want the proof in the pudding of the food you're choosing for your dog. Okay. We arrange for me to get a sample of it and, you know, handle it independently so there's no bias or anything, and get it to the lab. And turnaround time is pretty much 7 to 10 days. And we have numbers and information that, you know, literally belongs to you.
So out of curiosity, will it have traces of Salmonella or Listeria?
Oh, one of the test panels I offer is Salmonella and E. coli. I haven't looked into adding Listeria, but I very well may. One of my test panels tests for all sorts of mycotoxins and aflatoxins. I can test for mold and yeast because one of our concerns with the grain-containing foods beyond the mycotoxins is mold.
Yep. Because
many times, remember, what goes into the pet food bin, if you will, are the grains and such that are rejected from the human side. Well, if that corn is moldy, humans aren't going to eat it, but dogs might, because they'll just cook it down and they theorize that they've removed the mold. But we can find traces of it. And again, as I said, more detailed nutritional analysis. What you see on the back of the bag is usually like 5 different things: the calcium, the phosphorus, the fat level, the protein level. The analysis that Check Your Pet Food does is much, much more detailed. And we have something like 19, 20 parameters, including the full minerals. So we can really say a lot more about, is that food nutritionally complete, than the label can tell you.
Well, the label is a wonderful, wonderful novel to read, but it is, as we've all said, it's all just a bunch of words that...
Well, and it's, the next time you're in your supermarket, 2 things. Grab a box of cereal in the cereal aisle, and then waltz yourself over to the pet food aisle and compare the detail that's on the label on the human food to the pet food.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference. The other thing, and this is true, I know I've checked on it in at least 2 different states. If you go to the pet food aisle in the average grocery store, you'll see that at one end is cats, and then in the middle they usually have like toys and miscellaneous stuff. And then you get to the dog section, right?
Yeah.
Turn around and face what's on the opposite side of that row of pet food. And generally speaking, you're going to find it's detergents, cleaners, candles, things that have extremely strong scents. Now, why in the world would you put food next to Clorox?
I don't have an answer to that. One will clean. One will clean. The other one, well, it will clean the insides out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling, and Susan Thixton opened my eyes to this, and I said, no, I don't think that happened. So I went to the store. Sure enough, yeah. Look at one side: Clorox, dish detergent, laundry detergent, other soaps, mops, and then lo and behold, all the scented candles, and the fumes were overpowering. And right opposite that were bags of dry cat and dog food. Like, do you think that you're saying, they didn't put any human food opposite the scented stuff? And even if you go to the next aisle down, usually that's like paper plates and such. There is not any edible food for human near those detergents. Yet they'll put the pet food in the same aisle.
It is odd. It is an odd one.
It's odd, and knowing how much stuff is airborne, and those bags are not impermeable that the kibble is in. How much of that stuff is kind of being fed to our pets?
That's an odd one.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. I you know what? I only shop at one.
Everybody listening is going to think, oh, I'll go look at that.
Yeah, road trip.
Next time you go in a grocery store.
So here's what I post to everybody. Hit pause on this show. Go to the grocery store and then put play afterwards.
Take a picture and send it to us.
Exactly. There's always a way. You can always email at thegroomernextdoor@yahoo.com or just post a comment, because I would love to see what people post.
Post it on the comments. Post it on Facebook.
Yeah. I love that idea.
I will actually do that for you, because I took video. I was wheeling my cart down the aisle, and I just panned from left to right, and it's amazing. Amazing.
God, I've got to go to different markets now today just for that reason. I mean, I know the one store that has Mart at the end of it here, they have just pet food after pet food aisle. It's like 4 or 5 aisles, and they don't have any kind of cleaning supplies. But I need to go to a grocery store just to see. That's odd.
I have to think at our store. I live close by the largest one of those in the country. Happens to be in Albany, New York, which is mind-boggling. There are 2 floors to it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Originally it was a club store downstairs and the store upstairs, and now it's all the store. But I want to say their pet food is in an area, and it adjoins like paper products. It does adjoin soaps, but the layout is not like in aisles like at a supermarket. It's in kind of corners. So it isn't in as close contact. But it is nowhere near the human food. Because this store also has a supermarket, obviously.
Now I know where I'm going to go. In between the expo, I know where I'm going. Not just for fun. Hey, 2 stories? Awesome!
Just for fun. Yeah. Come to Albany. There's a reason I live here. People say, why do you live in Albany? It's not a super dog-centric town. But we have everything. I mean, we have the largest one of those. We have an airport that can land Air Force One. We have an Apple store. And it's 15 minutes to anything. It's 2.5 hours to any major metropolitan area you want to go.
Hey, that's not that bad.
Welcome to Albany, folks. Plan your vacation around the expo.
And don't forget,
we'll show you the sites.
You also left out that there is a street, the Jonas Brothers Boulevard now.
Oh, right. We did talk about that. Yes.
Yep. So,
we do have a large arena, if you will. And yes, the Jonas Brothers came and sang or are coming and singing. I don't follow them. Yeah. But yes, one of the requirements on their tune was that the street had to be renamed for them.
I like that. Yeah, I was talking about that at a different radio station last week. Not on air, it was off air, but we were talking about that, and I thought that was a great story. So thank you for that, because I used it.
Sure.
So now,
so the other thing to check your pet food is we're looking into crowdsourcing some funding so that if people want to be involved, and testing these foods completely is not cheap, but if everybody kicks in $5, and we'll test the food and make the results public. So, for example, somebody wants to test Acme Pro Sport, Buffalo dog food. We can test that. Essentially, as soon as we have raised enough funds to do it at cost, and we'll put those numbers out there for anybody who wants to choose that food. Now, it's not a perfect system. We know we're just testing one bag, but we expect it to be representative of what the company puts in the bag. As a consumer should be able to. So I'm really looking forward to that because it may answer some questions that we all have about our pet food. It may inspire manufacturers to do a little bit better if they know that the public is going to see detailed information. And let's put out something good so that we look good, even if it's self-motivated like that.
Here's where I'm going to prove I'm nothing like Rodney. So, would you buy a pet food that was made by an Acme product? Because now that you said that, I'm thinking, I know that their stuff is probably not going to be that well made after watching the Wile E. Coyote, but I'd still be kind of tempted. You kind of posed that question on me now.
Well, and yes, and you know what I was saying with all that.
I do, yeah.
Folks, just rewind and listen to all the names I put in there.
I got that. Yeah.
You got them. But let's say we would test the range of pet foods, because let's face it, there are people out there that see what many of us would consider the lower end of the pet food industry. The generic supermarket-ish brands, and other people are buying the most expensive brand they can find in the exclusive pet store. So, we don't want to just test the expensive foods. We don't want to test just the cheap ones. We want to test something representative of each so that we can make a fair comparison and say, okay, these are the qualities they share. This is where they differ. To be fair and to serve the needs of the folks who can't afford that, $4, $5 a pound food.
And
I don't want to exclude the cats on this either.
No.
We're not talking about just dogs, because in the melamine recall, cats were dying too. In the vitamin D problems that Hills has had recently, cats were affected too. So cats are not second-class citizens. Just because we're often just talking about dogs.
Well, I'll tell you this. I
want to be inclusive.
The pet food pantry, we were talking about it before we started. One of the students had asked, "Well, what about Hills?" And that's a good one. And I go, "Okay, so do you have your phone on you?" And of course, just like every teenage kid or early 20s, they do.
You're lucky it wasn't already in their hand.
I was very fortunate, yes. So I says, okay, look up 2019 recalls and tell me who the number one recall was. And of course, they said, well, why is Hills on there? And I go, and now your homework assignment is to read. So, you know what? I figured I got some science and technology kids here. I might as well teach them a little bit. I did kind of hone in on my Dr. COGER moment right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying that what do they call them? Ugly vegetables.
Yeah.
The ones that they sell at a discounted. I'm not saying ugly vegetables can't be nutritious, but the food has to be what I think in the food biz is called wholesome.
Yes.
Meaning it's not moldy. It's not damaged and exposed to air or stuff it shouldn't be. Those sorts of things. It's just got to be food.
We had that discussion, though. I remember having the ugly vegetable discussion, and I was clearly on board. If I went to a grocery store and they had ugly vegetables, I would buy them. Because I know the nutrition value is the same as the quote-unquote pretty ones. So, it doesn't bother me. You know what does bother me?
What's that?
So when we were talking about dog food and stuff like that and Acme, so I went to a grocery store here in town and I saw a bag of Old Yeller dog food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mhm.
so what happens to Old Yeller at the end of the movie?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. That's what I want to feed my dog. Just saying.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of
Yeah.
like this big pun for $5 for a 50-pound bag. I'm thinking to myself,
Oh, yeah.
well, yeah,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
What I love is when they're selling, and I actually had a client at the vet hospital. Dog comes in for vomiting and diarrhea, and the woman said, "Yeah, my husband," and this big sigh comes out of her. Well, they were out of dog food, and this happened to be, like a Sunday night or whatever, and he didn't want to deal with the store. So he ran down to the convenience store
oh God,
and grabbed a bag of food from there. So I don't remember, it was like an Alpo or something, like one of those foods that were one of the first commercial foods available, and now they've kind of sunk toward the bottom. So of course he fed it to the dog. The dog got sick.
shocker.
I was thinking, this is a store that really is a gas station.
Yeah.
You bought your pet food at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
You bought a 5-pound bag for 99 cents. I wonder how long it had sat there. Probably next to the windshield wiper and oil, fluid and oil. How in the world, did he make that choice? And of course, I said, well, if that ever happens again, you've probably got some meat in the fridge and some rice in the pantry. Just do some bland food. Just do some meat and rice. It's not the end of the world. Or guess what? Your dog could skip a meal. Fasting has its benefits. But this one was really unhappy with her husband for making that choice and feeding it before she could intervene.
Out of fairness.
We buy pet food in the strangest places and in the strangest ways. We don't treat it like food, like the supermarket aisle I was talking about.
Right.
But yet we want it to be food.
But out of fairness, I'm sure he buys, gas station sushi or something like that as well.
Right, and yes, to be fair, gas stations have become little mini marts in a sense. And yeah, maybe you can get Subway in our area. Subway subs are available at the gas station. Certain ones, they have pizza, they have all sorts of stuff. But I guess you don't expect, at least I don't. I don't expect healthy food to come from there.
Nope.
And I don't expect great tasting food to come from there.
Nope.
I don't expect the sandwich that I buy at a gas station is going to be like the one I get at Parada's Deli, where the little Italian guy asks me what kind of cheese I want on it. My expectation is different. But with pet food, sometimes we don't have any expectations. It's just pet food.
Well, I still won't eat gas station sushi. I will, hold.
I wouldn't.
I barely will have a hot dog at one of those places. It's almost.
You grab a soda, you grab some chips or a candy bar.
Exactly.
Something that's packaged.
Exactly. And I feel a little bit better. The other stuff, I've had pizza at them and they're not that good. I've had different things and they always taste bad. So I'm with you. Of course, those are freshly
the thing
made.
that boggles my mind is there's a gas station mini mart across the street from the vet hospital I work at. And a couple of my staff members, will walk across for a soda or something. It's like, that's cool. One of them came back with a hard-boiled egg. I'm thinking, you bought a hard-boiled egg at a gas station. And it isn't even in the shell. It's been peeled and it's in a little package. And my mind was just blown. I'm like, how long is it sitting around? What's the fluid it's suspended in?
Oh God.
And how people get really worried about egg salad and stuff. Was it at room temperature? Am I going to get, food poisoning from it? Here's this hard-boiled egg without a shell even to protect it. And who knows how long it's been bopping around in this little plastic pouch, if you will.
In fairness, though, I see those at Walmart, too. They have them.
Really?
Uh-huh.
They were a new thing for me.
Yeah, I've seen it for a while, and now I thought the same thing when I was like, I wonder how long it's been sitting there. And it's in this plastic container. That's great and all, but it has to have some kind of liquid in there. I can't imagine it has a long shelf life.
Or it has a long shelf life because the liquid is literally swimming in a sea of preservatives.
Oh God, that's just worse.
And it's like, how can it have any flavor or nutritional value?
It probably gets it when the air touches it.
Maybe. Like magic, it comes back.
Yeah, that's how it is. It rehydrates.
But yeah, that's it.
It's cat food for its own self.
I'm really excited about Check Your Pet Food and putting the truth out there.
That is going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to seeing how the results come up with that because, it's going to work.
I'm hopeful that it's going to work, and I'm hopeful that a lot of the results are good.
Yeah.
That we can really, say to people, okay, this company is producing a product. Here's their label. Here's their testing. There's no stray DNA in there. What they said is in there is in there. There's no significant mold count or yeast count or anything like that. There's no bacteria. That would be terrific.
I think so. When will that become available?
For individuals, we're probably looking at October to November.
Not bad.
So it's right around the corner. Yeah. We want to be sure the system is working right. Like I said, I'm working with some manufacturers now. Make sure everything is turnkey and the lab's doing their part and everything is the way we want it. And that we have the crowdfunding set up in a transparent way so everybody can see, what we're doing and where their contribution is going.
You know how people for the holidays love to buy stars in the name of people? This would be a much better gift. Much better. Companies should do it. I like the idea of it because honestly, some of the things that different businesses or Secret Santas that they do is kind of garbage. Honestly. This actually has a good purpose.
I always wonder, give us $1. You want to donate $1 to this charity at the supermarket, that charity at the fast food drive-thru. How much of that dollar gets where I want it to go?
I always wondered that too.
And, I mean, the biggest rip-off is the Humane Society of the United States. About 1 penny goes to actually care for animals.
Yep.
And there's an organization that rates charities as far as how much of your contribution benefits the cause. And you can look them up, and they have the lowest grade.
That's awful.
They do not help animals in shelters, which to me would be their first priority.
You would think so. That's what they're trying to sell you.
Exactly. Or advocating for animals, for legal legal matters. No. It goes to advertising and salaries.
Awful.
Yeah.
So how does everybody get involved or participate in Check Pet Food?
Check Your Pet Food. Right now, go to the Facebook page for Check Your Pet Food and like us because we'll put news out there. You can also visit the website, checkyourpetfood.com. And that's just our placeholder kind of page. The basic information is there.
Like it.
Keep it simple. And, follow us along and we'll release information as soon as we can.
That's awesome. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about is camp. Camp is coming up.
Oh, camp. Camp is coming up in 2 weeks. Camp is amazing, as always. It's fall in Lake George. What could be better? Leaf peeping season. Nice and cool. The dogs are energetic. This year, they've found a way to heat the pool a little bit, so the dogs will have a little warmer swim.
Nice.
Which is terrific. So I'm really excited. This year I'm teaching a new thing. I'm teaching doggy parkour. Do you know what parkour is?
I do not.
Have you ever seen those videos where it's usually in an urban setting and there's usually a bunch of guys and they're literally doing gymnastics over the playground. They're flipping over, railings. They're jumping over things. They're jumping from building to building.
Yeah.
It's crazy how athletic these guys are. Well, there's a dog version. And the dogs learn how to jump on things, jump off things, walk a balance beam, leap from obstacle to obstacle. So that's one of the new activities we're offering at camp.
Interesting.
Doggy parkour, how to get your dog started. And, for me, it's a natural spin-off from all the canine physical therapy exercises that we do with, like, the exercise ball and stretches and jumping over things, crawling under things. So I got tapped to teach it, which I'm really excited about.
How many Toto Fit pieces of equipment are you going to use?
As many as I can fit in my car. I don't want to deflate everything because then I have to take it down to the gas station and pump it up.
I remember when she had one little piece and it was just coming out, and now it's this huge line. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. Oh, well, people have figured out it's fun to use it. Their dogs do so much better coming back, when they can do the rehab exercises at home, say after a cruciate ligament surgery or, an injury of any type. And it's fun training, like in the winter when it's icy outside, you can't do anything outside. You can sit on your couch and, play Toto Fit with your dog. So it's just so useful everywhere.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be...
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I remember doing stuff like that with rollerblades, jumping over weird things or off of things. But the people who do it on these rooftops and everything else, I'm like, nope, I was never that athletic.
They're insane.
They really are.
But they're really skilled, too.
Yes.
But if you look at, I think I pointed you out towards videos of Jumpy the dog.
I don't know.
Omar's stuff. There's a dog by the name of Jumpy. Sadly, he's passed on, but there's many videos of him. And if you look at any of his videos, the athleticism of this dog and his jumping, his skateboarding ability, his scooter riding ability, phenomenal dog. And as fit as they come.
So we lose Grumpy the cat and Jumpy the dog.
Yep, exactly.
2019 has not been good to anything that has P at the end of its name.
Evidently not.
Gosh.
Evidently not.
Oh, man. So how can everybody get involved in camp? Because obviously it's going to be up in Albany, right?
Lake George, actually, north of Albany.
Okay. I haven't been up there, so to me, I'm like, okay,
about 45 minutes to an hour north of Albany.
Nice. And you know what I love is that
south of Lake Placid.
You get to go with your dog. You get to be at this cool resort. You get brilliant people to talk to you. I mean, it's just a wonderful event. But I thought it was Labor Day weekend that usually took place.
No. Labor Day weekend is like the end of summer season. Lake George is very much a resort town.
Yeah.
And a very, very dog-friendly town any time of the year. So if you're looking for an Adirondack-type vacation and you want to bring your dog, it's very doable in Lake George. But we're off-season. We're usually towards the end of June before the summer kicks off for our summer camp, and in September for our September camp, after the most of the summer folks have left.
Gotcha. Wow. That's going to be a lot of fun. And who else is going to be there with you?
Well, all our typical camp crew, including another veterinarian, Dr. Laura Fiore, who comes from Long Island, our regular camp director, Janice, and our camp cruise director, Marcia. We have an assortment of trainers this year. We have our lure coursing person, Lynn, our agility and flyball team of Jess and Val, our skateboarding instructor, Lorraine. And we have someone coming doing freestyle. We have somebody doing tracking. We offer CGC, Canine Good Citizen, and therapy dog certifications. So, I mean, there's pretty much everything you can want. Michelle runs Doga, our dog yoga class, every morning. Many, many options.
I'm still wanting to see a Total Fit video where human and dog do Total Fit together. I'm still trying for that.
Sure.
I want to know that that's going to come out. So something I haven't asked you.
I know Debbie's having yoga classes at her facility for people.
She needs to have it with. I even said it on the radio. You need to have videos. It just needs to happen.
Yeah, so it can't be far away. It'll happen.
Well, I've been telling her this since the beginning of Total Fit's inception, it seems like. Well, when's the video? When's the video? So, it just hasn't happened. So, I haven't asked you my favorite question to always ask, which is, what has you on your soapbox?
Oh, what has me on my soapbox? Well, I've been reviewing a lot of hair tissue mineral analyses recently, and that's when the owner sends in a hair sample, and we have an information sheet that details all the details about their pet. And lately, of course, there's a big section on diet. And I review a lot of raw feeders who have submitted this test. And I see what they're feeding their dog, and I'm really hopeful that they're just leaving out details. But there are so many people feeding raw diets that I know just by looking at what they've written are nutritionally incomplete.
Yep.
And it makes me crazy because I know these people have made this change from going and buying a bag of kibble and scooping it into the dog's bowl to doing raw to do better for their dog. But yet they're feeding protein but no bone. They're feeding one protein and some organ meat and some bone and a little bit of veggie, but there's no variety in there. I know they're minerally deficient. I know they're probably vitamin D deficient by seeing what they've written down. Just, guys, a poorly designed raw diet is worse than a kibble diet.
Yep.
And yet, you know, you've dealt with raw feeders. Some of us can be very militant, shall I say, in our viewpoints, and we turn our noses up at people who are feeding kibble, who in reality are doing better for their dogs than some of these raw feeders that are feeding incomplete and unbalanced meals.
That is true.
So it's making me pull my hair out.
Yeah, you know, the hard part, and I've heard this a lot, and I've heard it a lot more this year than I have in previous years, is a lot of people who are starting out. Let's say they were for conventional big box of big pet food, then they went to the grain-free, and now they've moved themselves into the raw feeding. One thing that I've noticed is a lot of people have been discouraged. And the discouragement is not on the ratio. The discouragement is on the group pages and how they've been attacked. And
how nasty people can be to each other.
And I have definitely faced that attack, and I understand just how hard it is when you're really just trying to get good information out there, and even down to suggestions, and you can just be absolutely taken out, and it's not right. And of course, people are discouraged, and then they revert back to grain-free, which I know we talked about. You know, it is a better supplement than some of the recipes come up of raw food. Obviously, you could do better. But they realized, I'm just not going to take the abuse that I took from these group pages. And some of the people are very well known. And they're just slicing your throat right off. And you're going, whoa, wait a second here. I wasn't trying to be mean. I wasn't trying to criticize. I was asking a question. And they'll take you out.
Oh, ask a question in some group about what do you think about feeding vegetables.
Oh, yes.
After they finish raking you over the coals, they kick you out.
Yes.
So it's like, all right, well, if your mission was to educate people, now you just, yelled at this person, using that figuratively online. But, you dress them down for asking a question for the purpose of getting information, presumably what your group is about. And then you kick them out. So how do you expect them to learn? No,
you don't.
You just made a big old, helps them someone form a big negative opinion
Right.
about the raw feeding community.
And
truthfully, the raw feeding community's not in danger because of kibble foods. You know, we have problems because people can't just be polite.
yeah.
You know, we're so busy attacking each other and saying, no, you're feeding raw wrong. No, you're feeding raw wrong. So, you know, the kibble companies just stand there and laugh
Yes.
because nobody's saying you're feeding kibble wrong. You know, they say, oh, well, you want a grain-free? We'll make one. You want a grain-containing food? We'll make one. You know, they satisfy their customers' needs and watch raw feeders and raw feeding companies in some cases just argue with each other.
Oh yeah, but the worst of it is that yes, you'll see big pet food fight each other occasionally, but it's not terrible, not compared to when you see these pages, these group pages. I mean, I would never put the person on blast, but I was just shocked because I never would have expected that to come from them. And it was just, even now, and it's been over a year or two, and I was shocked, and I was like, you know what? I never since then would ever participate in any group pages that came to raw feeding for that one reason. And it's like, I have information to share, but ever since that happened, I was like, nope, and I'm out.
No.
So even I faced it.
You can read. I'll join a group and I'll read, but I don't post anything.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, as a veterinarian, then I watch them rake veterinarians over the coals.
That too.
And, you know, the veterinarian got into the business to help animals.
Yes.
You know, whether you agree with their version of what is best or not, you know, let's just be polite. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, either have a respectful discussion or don't discuss it with them. Say, you know, let's agree to disagree and move on.
Yes.
It can be done.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And with any topic, not just this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's so many subjects we could go on and talk about how this group, you know, is just one way, and if it's not that way, it's no way. And it's all over the Facebook posts of news. It's ridiculous out there. Nobody can just have a discussion.
There's a huge my way or the highway philosophy in raw feeding. As there is in vaccinations.
Yes.
Whether it's, you know, human or animal. For example, I shared, there's a lovely video about camp that I'll share to your page that actually a friend of mine did. And in it, they interviewed the camp director who was explaining that, you know, we have 2 vets on staff, one more conventional, one more holistic. So owners can, you know, find answers to whatever questions they may have. And she mentioned, you know, you can learn more about how to feed your dog better, speaking of me. And she did in vaccination protocols. And one person who watched the video said, well, I would never go because as soon as they lost me as soon as they said vaccination protocols. I'm thinking, well, okay, I have inside knowledge. I was there when this was shot. But I watched it, and she was talking about alternative vaccination protocols. Seems like a good thing to know about, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you said vaccination protocols, this person was obviously extreme in her views, and she tuned out everything. And it's like, you just lost out on a lot of information by not being open-minded.
Yeah.
By not just listening and then saying, okay, well, I don't agree with this, or I do agree with that. And, you know, it's the same on the human, the quote-unquote anti-vaxxers and the thoughtful vaxxers. And, of course, then there's the people who want to vaccinate against everything, and that should be their choice.
Yeah.
You know, I strongly believe, whatever it is, consumers should have the information to make an informed decision and the array of options that meet their needs.
And you don't have to agree with their decision, but you don't need to publicly humiliate or even voice your opinion to it. That's their choice.
Exactly.
And I don't understand
and that's what social media has done to us is now we feel obligated to comment on everything.
True.
Whereas if we were standing in a group at a cocktail party, we just wouldn't say anything. Or we might excuse ourselves if we really needed to. Or we might dive in And, but behind the keyboard, everybody wants to comment, and they have no filter.
True. And I do my best not to, well, I can honestly say I don't criticize anybody, or I really didn't even post on those group pages. And a lot of times, and I know you're the same way, you're invited to a lot of these pages, and I reluctantly think, do I really want to participate? Do I want to be there? And if I accept, I just don't want to say anything. I'll listen, but I don't want to comment.
Yeah.
It's a rough one.
I often don't accept any of those invitations because that's just another distraction for me, and I'm not focusing on what I want to get done.
Well, I can honestly say I'm easily distracted, and they don't distract me because I just don't have the time to look. So because I don't have the time, it just doesn't go through into my, ooh, look at that shiny red ball, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
We're not going to do a lot on this subject, but I thought, since I had you on here, I thought we would kind of go over the FDA thing and what's going on with answers. Right. Not make a big deal about it because obviously we'll have more time for that where Billy comes on the radio this Friday.
But yeah, Billy will know. Billy will know so much more.
Yeah.
About it, but really, and I'm not as well versed in it as many people, but basically, it's just what I was talking about. It's the consumer should have the freedom to choose what they want to feed their dog. And FDA is trying to prevent raw companies from putting out a raw product. The problem is, as I understand it, that what they're using to enforce that quote unquote law, which isn't a law, that food must be sterile,
right,
is actually an FDA policy or guideline. It doesn't have the force of law. So there is no law that says all pet food must be sterile, meaning no bacteria, no E. coli, no Salmonella, no Listeria. There is no law that says that. There is an FDA compliance policy. And those aren't enforceable. And and Billy can clarify this for you.
Yeah.
That's the whole crux of the lawsuit is you can't arbitrarily elevate a policy to the status of a law.
And I guess I'm looking at it a little bit of a outside picture to it, and I look to Darwin's, I look to Radcat, and now I look to Answers, and one of them was eliminated because of this, and we've talked about the whole situation. Right. But, Radcat was completely evaporated because of this. Darwin's took a massive hit. Say again?
Major hit.
Yeah.
Darwin's took a major hit.
It did. But they were able to sustain.
And maybe we should back up so people understand this. When they recalled those things, those foods, that meant the company did not get paid for those foods. They had to take them back.
Yes.
And they were recalled, so they potentially had to destroy them. So that was a total loss. Now, for a small company like Radcat, losing that amount of inventory was devastating.
Yeah.
And a lot of their suppliers canceled orders.
Yes.
For the future. So, financially, they didn't have money to turn the lights on the next day over something that really shouldn't have happened. In terms of, was it legal for FDA to force a recall? The other thing with Answers and some of the other companies is they've developed technologies to make the food safe. So Answers has used competing bacteria and fermentation, and Billy can speak much more knowledgeably about this than I can. You can put their food that is frozen and supposed to be refrigerated, on the counter for a couple of days and let it sit at room temperature and culture it, and you will find that the healthy bacteria have out-proliferated any E. coli or Salmonella or pathogenic bacteria in that product. Now, you name me one human food. Would you do that with a chicken?
Nope.
Just plunk your little chicken uncooked, because this food is uncooked as well, Answers is, on the counter for 2 days and culture it and expect to not find, all sorts of badness growing?
No.
No. So, not only is Answers right from my side on their legal interpretation, But they have thought about it, and they've come up with a unique approach to being sure that pathogenic bacteria are not, proliferating in their product, even if the consumer misuses it.
See, one thing that always gets me
Phenomenal.
with everything that's going on, I almost feel, and I had this discussion last week as well, where I feel as if the FDA says we're too stupid to be able to handle food. And furthermore, obviously, you only should be able to feed dog food or cat food from these reputable, and I use that word in a joke, but reputable big pet food companies, because they know better. Don't go anywhere else because you're too stupid to work with it, even though that chicken that you just bought, that you put on your counter, has salmonella. There is so much allowed in every piece of their. You can
but yet, pet food must be sterile.
Yeah, I don't understand that. How can you do that?
At the same time, the pet food industry is allowed to violate the Food and Cosmetics Act that says all meats shall have died by slaughter, which basically prohibits non-slaughtered meat from going into pet food. But, we can ignore that.
Yeah.
So the industry allows you to put filthy, unfit for human consumption food in there, but then insists it must be sterile.
Yeah, I don't understand
while allowing human food to not be sterile. It is so backwards. And I always think of that paper that the folks at Dog Risk, Dr. Bjorkman and company at the University of Helsinki put out. Showed that both a very interesting paper, and you can find it at dogrisk.com. You just have to click on the research papers in English. Kids that grew up on a farm and dogs that lived in farm and rural type areas had a totally different bacterial population and fewer allergies than dogs and kids that grew up in an urban setting. And what's the difference? When you live on a farm, you're exposed to bacteria every moment of your life.
Yep.
You're a kid. You're out digging in the dirt, playing in the brook or the pond. The dogs are chewing on sticks. In an urban setting, it's filtered air, totally clean, everything's disinfected. So the immune system is stimulated in different ways, and the healthier way is actually closer to nature.
Yep. And that's a funny thing that you bring up, because it's true. If you let's just look at two things: an indoor cat and an outdoor cat. Outdoor cat is going to be exposed to all kinds of different things, and it is going to hunt. Is going to be exposed to all kinds of different allergies, or what would be an allergy, or different things. And and then you have the cat that's only inside on the couch all day. Which one's going to most likely have some kind of dermatitis? Most likely the house cat.
Which cat is going to get ringworm?
Exactly.
Usually it's not the outdoor cat.
I mean,
the indoor cat.
I've seen it, and I know you have too. But it's still, there's still so many different things. Now, will an outdoor cat most likely drink water that may have some E. coli in it, and where the indoor cat doesn't? Of course. But it's still going to have a better way of being able to defend itself than that poor indoor cat who's like, I can't go out there.
Right. Well, and prior to drinking from that contaminated puddle or whatever, it's probably had a little bit of low-level exposure.
Probably.
So it had the chance for its immune system to build up some antibodies. Because remember, that's how a vaccine works, too.
Mm-hmm.
We show the body something that is an antigen, meaning a disease-causing organism. In the vaccine, it's weakened or killed. In nature, it might be we show you 2 bacteria, and it takes 10 to cause an infection. Well, 2 will still show it to your body's immune system. You'll start to produce antibodies. You'll become immune to it. So when you run into 10 bacteria, your immune system fights it off, just like people who fight off a cold. They have a good immune system, and they've seen those germs before.
Yes.
But if you've never, you live in an isolated area, you never saw those germs, or you hop on a plane and you go across the country and you get exposed to massive quantities,
oh yeah,
your body can't do anything about it.
Well, and that's perfect. That's a perfect example because, let's just use the example. Here I'm sitting, I'm doing a podcast right now, in the metaphor, in this metaphor of being in a basement, in my mom's basement. I'm in my 30s. I never leave this room and I play video games all day. But the moment that I would go out and maybe go to the market, I get a cold every time and I don't know why. So I stay in this basement all the time. Now, obviously that's not me, but that's a perfect example of what it would be. And if you're staying inside all the time and then all of a sudden you go out, that big dirty world, well, exactly is like I said, it's a big dirty world. Exactly. Your body's going, oh my God, I got to fight off this. I got to fight off that. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? There it is. So I get
if every day you go out, even for 5 minutes, and get your little bit of exposure, then your body has time to build up antibodies and be able to recognize things that are a threat, disease-causing organisms, and fight them off. I mean, it's why we live.
It's why we live.
Why we don't die the first time we get a cold.
Right. That's exactly it. And that's what I find interesting because when you break down, and again, this is a simple biology 101. So here's how it goes. A lot of people think about the dog, they think about the cat, they think about the human and think, oh, well, it's the same natural digestive system. Everything's the same because we're all created equally, which obviously we know that's not entirely true. We are not created like a dog or a cat. So dog and cat eats different things than we do. It could be regular pet food or feed.
Right.
And yes, they're able to eat that stuff and survive, but that's because they're immune to some of the garbage in there. That doesn't mean it's helping them.
And their biology is adapted to handle that. Like why can a dog, find a bunny carcass in the woods and eat it? And sometimes they get diarrhea, sometimes they don't. Mm-hmm. Well, their GI tract is acidic, it's short, things move through quickly. They're designed to process that sort of stuff.
Wait, so the FDA isn't...
We would be in the hospital for a week.
Oh, if not just right away, we're done. We're done for. Yeah. You know what? The FDA really needs to regulate the woods because there are some, animal carcasses that dogs are going to eat. And that's got Salmonella Listeria right on it. You know how I love those two words. My favorite words.
Oh, yeah. My favorite words.
You know what's funny?
There are bacteria everywhere.
It is. And that's what I really look at all this, with all this FDA thing, it's the same type of quantity, if not even lower with answers on percentage of what salmonella might be in there. It is of legal, I say legal to the USDA to actually buy our foods. Right. I don't understand, and we've had this discussion numerous times. I don't understand why the FDA is involved, and it isn't a USDA situation. It would make more sense. Yeah, in a way, yes. But I think because many of these food processing facilities, let's say it's a slaughterhouse for beef, and they have attached rendering facilities. So on the same property, you have both human food and something that's going to generate meat meal with the rejected animals from the human food side. That may be part of it because FDA is right there. And there are also independent rendering companies who, bring a truck and they take the rejected carcasses off-site for processing. It's just fine.
So I can see where it could get sticky if FDA is there and they're watching it stuff move from building to building. But yeah, in a way, it would seem like it's an agriculture USDA thing.
That's the way I see it. But that's just an opinion. I mean, my opinion is just mine, and anybody who's listening, you can generate your own from that. And I won't criticize you, surprisingly. This isn't one of those group pages.
Or in a perfect world, there would be the Department of Pet Food.
Which I still don't understand why that is not a thing. It should be. For the billions of dollars involved in the pet food industry, I agree.
But on the other hand, is that efficient to have yet another government agency? If an existing one could do it, I don't know.
I think it would be. You know what? Right now, I don't have any faith in the FDA. I feel like it's corrupt, and there's a lot of corruption in there. Where I mean, they're representing AFCO. I mean, that should not be going on. Yeah. So that just shows me it's completely corrupt. It's dirty. So we need something else. And we already know, because I've mentioned it many a times, I've contacted the FDA and said, hey, I want to talk to you. And they're like, yeah, we don't have to. Goodbye. And I find that's a problem.
They don't, yeah. Well, look at all the contacts Cole Harrington has attempted to make with them.
Oh, yeah. It just isn't going to happen.
From pet pools.
Yeah, not going to happen.
You know, I get Cole can be very confrontational. But on the other hand, he was nice first, and you didn't talk to him. He's human. You know, I understand his frustration, especially when you know what he knows about how bad some of this stuff really is. And all any of us are looking out for is the pets who have no choice over what goes in their bowls.
That's funny. I've never really.
Everybody's bottom line.
I've never thought of Cole as being confrontational. I've always been the other way around. I've always been more like even when we were talking, he would say, you know what, you should have been the one that approached Hills, because he took the different approach where he was nice and then they were gone, where I would never have let off the gas. And that's just the difference. Right. That's why it's like, I always think that he's a nicer person than I would have been. I would have been direct.
He's a phenomenal person. And the efforts he put into that movie and what he's doing for Petful too, I mean, I have tremendous respect for all of that. But I also hear his frustration when he puts a video up that, you know, nobody will talk to him. Nobody is willing to answer the hard questions. And it shouldn't be that way. I mean, he should be able to get the answers to his questions from the government officials whose salaries we pay.
That's exactly one of the conversations him and I had a few years ago was these people are in a position because of taxpayers, not because this is something that they're actually, you know, funding on their own. No, we're paying for this. We shouldn't be able to have a right to it. We don't.
Yeah.
It's odd. It is odd.
You know, and I mean, I know some things, you know, at the governmental level, there are probably secrets that do need to be kept.
Right.
Or, you know, things, I respect the company's right to what I'll call proprietary information. You know, you don't have to give us your recipe that you spent money developing and that makes your product a super product. I mean, it's only fair that that's yours.
Yes.
But there's other questions that should be answered.
Yeah, and that's the question.
It's got to be just annoying when you beat your head against the wall for so long trying to get the answer, and nobody will talk to you.
Oh, it yeah.
Or they beat around the bush and give you half answers.
Well, it's probably why I stay in the lakes that I do. Yeah, I stay in my lane on this. I realized right away, you know, after PFI, and the only reason why I did the PFI episode was because Cole asked me to. I didn't want to do that episode. I didn't want to do the AFCO episode. But he was like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And then, of course, it was just shocking to do those episodes, as we already know. And it was like, I after that was like, no. And then, of course, then I decided to go into the plant-based and insect-based idea, which, again, that was, you know, and it was never to try to coerce people to go that way. It's, hey, let's look at this. Is it sustainable? Right. And, you know, some of those things you realize maybe they're just not the way to go, because not everybody wants to, you know, they don't want to even hear about it, let alone digest it. Even though it did well, people still just react differently. So I couldn't do Pet Food 2. I couldn't be doing what he's doing, but you know what? I always say all the power to you for going forward with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be interesting to see as everything develops, you know, where's the pet food industry going? Consumer demand changes. The DCM thing is quiet right now, but, we may figure more out there. I think what we are going to find out is, for the average consumer who doesn't know it, how important what you feed your pet is to all of these problems, to prevention of health issues.
Yep. If we don't have all these, if we don't actually have true facts, then all we're going to do is continue the path we are. It reminds me of the movie Idiocracy, and which I still to this day love that movie. And I love how they would put Brando, which was their own version of Gatorade, to fertilize for water. And that was their idea, because Brando had electrolytes, and that would actually be able to do more for plants. Obviously, we all know that wouldn't. And that's kind of what, in some reference, makes me feel with Big Pet Food. Well, we have all of the science here, so just trust us. It'll work. And it's the same thing. And it's not. It's like, well, let's put electrolytes in dog food. Why not? Because it's good for you. Whatever. And that's exactly how this entire situation has been. And now it's like, we've talked about this for at least a year now. All right, we've been watching raw feeding companies get taken out one by one.
Right.
And we've known it was coming. It's kind of funny because the whole thing started in January with Answers, which I couldn't believe it was that early in the year. And we're in September. And look at they've got their foot. The FDA has their foot on Answer's throat, trying to eliminate them. And if they do, if they're successful, I don't know if raw feeding will be a thing. At least not commercial.
I don't know. And what is mind-boggling to me is commercial raw food, all the estimates I've seen put it between 4 and 6% of food sold. Why is everybody so worried about such a small component of the overall market? Let's use 5% as a round number. 95% of the market, this has nothing to do with. So why invest all of this in 5%? And the number of humans that have been sickened is much higher for tomatoes, romaine. Remember when we couldn't get romaine?
Yes.
And even kibble dog food. More salmonella risk than raw pet foods causing people to get sick. So you can't say, oh, it's because, hundreds and hundreds of people were sickened by it. No. So why are they so afraid? I just don't get it.
It's the bottom line. 5% is still going to be millions of dollars. And that's the problem.
Well, and I guess you could say it's not costing the dog food companies or pet food companies any money for FDA to go after raw. But still, it's a minuscule proportion. And of that 5%, what I don't know is how many are do-it-yourself feeders versus buying commercial product.
But even at that, it's still a hard one for me to really put my hand on. That you put the food in the bowl. My daughter can do this. My daughter has done this. It's not a big deal. Why are we having such an issue with this? And that's my problem.
You can use a spoon. You don't have to do it with your bare hand.
What?
I have one friend. Yeah, I have one friend who puts gloves on to feed her dogs, but she feeds raw.
Wait.
But she's kind of a germaphobe.
Wait, you don't have to touch it with your hands? Oh my gosh, I am shocked.
So, I mean, I just don't get the risk factor.
Well, it's like
we're not talking about feeding roadkill.
Yes, which people do eat.
Which, yes, people do eat.
There is stories on that. Yes, I was shocked about that.
Or spoiled meats or anything like that. So I don't get FDA's selective investigation.
So I guess the question is, once they get done destroying raw feeding, what's the next thing? And honestly, I think I have the next thing that they will go after.
What's the next thing? I'm going to go out on a limb. September, what are we, 1st or 2nd,
2019, and I say the next thing that they go after is CBD. I think big pet food will want to actually start honing in on that, putting it in.
But more and more states are looking at legalizing marijuana for recreational use.
Right.
So how do we put those two things together? If marijuana is legal, how is CBD not?
See, I don't think it's going to be that CBD is not legal. I think they're going to find ways of taking these companies that now, as of this year, is supposed to generate between 3 and 4 billion a year in the annual year. Mm-hmm. By 2022, they're saying that CBD will generate between 20 to 25 billion. So I see it's a huge business. And I see where big pet food will be, okay, we're going to put CBD and hemp extract in the foods.
Oh.
And
so
they're
already making fruits.
Uh-huh. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to cut down all the little companies that are doing it.
Well, and I would add that really eating it, if you're looking at using CBD therapeutically, whether for anxiety or seizures or pain, feeding it in a treat or a food is really poor absorption. You really want a tincture that is absorbed in the mouth or under the tongue.
Yeah.
So, you know, that CBD treat really isn't going to do much for your dog. And a lot of them are marketed for calming. But it's just not absorbed that well from the stomach.
I just think that they're gonna coin it. They're gonna get behind that.
They might, but you know, is depending on what form of CBD they're using. And again, I'm speaking with only a rudimentary knowledge. Is that any different from putting lavender as an herb in there, or valerian root, or some other herbal plant extract?
I don't know. Just because it's associated with either the marijuana plant or the hemp plant versus lavender, valerian, any of the herbs. It's a sticky question. It is. And it's funny, as we're going about, I was just trying to see what the CDC has been saying has been the total outbreaks of salmonella in just the United States. In 49 states, it states that a total of 1,003 people have been infected with an outbreak strand of salmonella. So, 1,003. Now, I posed this other question to it. Out of 1,003, how many were raw feeders? I'm guessing a lot less than what you would think.
Well, statistically, 5%.
There it is. It does come full circle, doesn't it? I didn't think that one.
Come full circle, yeah.
So 5% of 1,003. That's the number. Is what?
20? 20?
At best. Yeah, probably.
At best.
Yeah.
Well, 23 people get struck by lightning.
That sounds about right.
Every year.
Yep.
And 11 are killed by armed toddlers.
So it's the numbers are, you're probably going to get struck by lightning.
What's the number that are killed by armed toddlers?
Armed toddlers. Boy, who would have ever thought that a Simpsons episode would become more prevalent to a podcast than anything else? I didn't see that coming.
Exactly.
Didn't see that coming at all. So that's where we are. And yet the FDA is putting out, I don't even want to even look to see how many recalls in pet food for salmonella. I didn't do the math. But I'm guaranteeing it's going to be in the range of 100 plus. So,
oh yeah,
all these recalls.
Just go to Susan Fixton's History of Recalls article.
There you go.
I mean, she's got it listed out year by year. If you really want to see the trends.
So let's recap this. Go to your grocery store. Find if there's a photo. Get a photo of pet food and cleaning supplies right in the same proximity, one on one side, one on the other.
Side. Yep.
1,003 salmonella infections in the U.S. in 49 states. And you know what? There is just a lot to go on here. It's just I don't even know where to continue to break that down. It's just been one of those. And to think, we were wondering, what are we talking about today? How many times have we done this?
We always find something.
Why is it we even ask this question? Something. This is the question that, and it's a behind-the-scenes transparency of what goes on before we do these shows. We always say, well, what are we talking about today? And I may come up with a long list of ideas, which I did, and I scrapped them all. Because honestly, where we went was much better than what I was thinking. Why do I even write these?
Definitely.
Why do I plan? The planning is not my style. I'm not the Rodney. I've already made this clear. I'm not like him. Why am I trying to do what he does?
Nope, you got to be yourself.
Right.
So, and on that note, come to the Healthy Dog Expo. Meet Rodney.
Yes.
Meet Chris. Meet Ms. You'll get to know. You'll find out all sorts of things. But the Healthy Dog Expo is going to be an amazing educational experience and a chance to meet a network of people that are going to change the world when it comes to life with our pets. And you can be part of that.
I'll just add one thing.
Every one of these events that I've been to, I have met people that I had never met before that are so inspirational and that would become good friends.
Yes.
So
I wouldn't promote it by saying come and meet me, but definitely the people that are going to be there, you want to meet them. If you do see me there, just go, yeah, you do that one podcast thing or radio, whatever you do. But I'm not going to be the fun one to be there. The people who are there are the ones I'm just absolutely dying to see, meet, be around, and maybe learn just a little bit more to help, crave my desire. So, on that note, is there anything you want to lead, with the ending for this episode?
No, that you've said it all.
Hour and a half. Can you believe that? Hour and a half. How do we do this? I just looked. It was 15 minutes ago. It was 15 minutes. All right. Well, I'm Chris Green. That's Dr. LAURIE COGER. Have a pet-tastic week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, gotta go in my bedtime.